I've got to go.
You don't need to go, Professor. Just stay here and visit with me.
No more time.
We can talk about something else.
Open the door.
Don't go out there.
Open the door. Don't confess. Please. Open the door.
Hello, welcome to Snip Critique, where we get real with cult films. I'm your host, Bryan, and I'm here this week, solo, like Thomas was last week, to share my top 5 films we've covered over this past year on the podcast. We've covered a lot, and I chose to leave out some obvious favourites such as Batman, Donnie Darko, Angel Hat, or films we've covered more recently that I'd like to have made the cut, as I chose nothing we discussed since Halloween. It would seem a bit redundant having them on again. These are in no order of rank, as it is hard enough to just pick my favourites, as I've liked all the films we've had on this year. So first up could have been Donnie Darko. It is a film I truly love. Anyone who knows me knows I love a great time-bending head-scratcher. This is why I chose the less popular, which is just as impressive, Primer.
There was value in the thing, clearly. That they were certain of.
I was going to read IMDb's synopsis, but I just remembered it's not very good. So a small group of friends build what turns out to be a time travel device, and they then figure out how they're going to use it and how it works. I mean, that's the best way to describe it with not giving too much away, because I think this is a film that's really great with the less you know going in.
Yeah.
It is known as a bit of a, I'm not going to swear because we'll get,
Mind bending.
Yeah,
It's a mind
bending.
bending. Mind bending.
Yeah, I was going to say it's one that messes with your head.
Yeah, all that.
But I think this is one of my favourite sci-fi films of the modern era, I would say.
Yeah.
Oh, before we get into it, we should go into a bit more. It's directed by Shane Carruth, who plays the lead character. Well, he also did the editing, I think, cinematography, and sound.
Yeah, score as well.
Co-starred by David Sullivan as his friend Abe, Carrie Crawford as Kara, which is Aaron's partner, Casey Gooden as Robert, and I can't read my writing, Anand Apadayaya, I think it is if I'm saying it right,
I'm not.
as Philip.
Yeah, I'm not going to attempt that now. I'll probably do as good a job as you did anyway.
Before we get anywhere with it, I think what people might find really interesting about this movie is that Rian Johnson says it's the best time travel movie.
And why is it important that Rian Johnson says that?
Well, he made Looper, and it sounds like, not 100%, that he's friends with Carruth, who wrote and made this film.
Yeah.
And he sent the script to him, and Carruth said, "You've got time travel all wrong."
I love that.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how you can have time travel all wrong when it's not really possible yet. I say yet.
No, but they have to work within the realms of theories and that
Yeah.
to some point of realism.
Yeah.
I feel this, to me, feels like one of the most likely ways of time travel. I mean, it helps for the fact you don't truly know what they've done,
Yeah.
but they discuss it in a way where it feels real and believable.
I'm going to say they set up their rules. Don't
Yeah.
they?
Yeah.
Then where for me it becomes the Fight Club of time travel movies. It's two guys, set of rules.
Yeah.
And they have to follow them.
Or do they?
Rule number 1, do not talk about time travel.
Oh, it's not the rule. Also, for a movie made on $7,000, it's kind of obvious it's made with that sort of money, but it works to the advantage of this coming across as quite a realistic film, yeah.
To be fair, I thought you were going to say, for a movie filmed on $7,000, it looks really good.
I mean, it made with $7,000 though, and it made $841,926 back. So
that's a lot of profit.
Yeah, I mean, it's not much more than the budget for Safety Not Guaranteed, which we'll be talking about next.
Yeah,
which I think is unreal because this movie is, I think, a lot better than Safety Not Guaranteed. There's just something about this. It feels gritty and raw, and
I won't really describe it as gritty.
Yeah, it's like an uncleanliness to it in a way, isn't there? Because they keep their little machine in a storage unit.
Yeah.
In fact, there's something else really good about this. They don't refer to their time travel device. I was doing quotation marks with my hands, but I forgot it's an audio podcast. Yeah, they don't say time travel device at all. I think they refer to it as the box.
Yeah, I believe so.
Which is cool and everything. well, it's not cool, but it's interesting, should I say, in how that's done. It just adds to this level of realism to the film. But at the same time, I think if time travel was created amongst you and a friend, you'd be like, oh my God, bro, I've just made time travel. This is a time travel machine. You know?
I'm going to say it's similar to zombie movies where you're looking at a zombie and they go, oh my God, it's someone who is undead.
Yeah, I think you're thinking of The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
But there's some really good stuff in this. Like, before they decide what they're going to do with this box, because I don't really know, it's done in a way where it seems like they don't know what they're making while they're making it. Right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, wait, watch this when I uncup the battery.
Yeah.
It's like, what's it doing? Is it running on its own thing? He's like, I don't know. So start doing these weird little experiments with it to find out what it is. And then they find out there's a buildup of protein, but they don't know what that is. They take it to a guy in a lab and he tells them it's protein. He's like, where'd you get it from? And he's like, oh, so like whatever. And he thought it was a prank because apparently it was like 5 to 6 years worth of protein.
Yeah.
And it's this type of protein that I guess works like a bacteria and it would grow on a person from their sweat and so on. It seemed like a natural thing. So obviously, you know,
Yeah.
it's a bit mucky. And then I think they really reveal how much time traveling's happening in this by putting his watch in. Was that right?
Yeah.
It starts really basic. You're kind of pleased for him anyway. And then it starts to unravel when these rules that they've made start getting broken, I guess,
Yeah.
without saying too much. Because, like I said, the less you know, the better. Other interesting things, though, I believe everything was shot in one take.
Yeah. Everything was one take. And they pretty much used all the footage. I think there's not really much deleted. I think the only thing they had to delete, what was it?
I can't remember.
It's not like, because there was a sprite canning view.
Oh, right. Product placement.
Yeah.
Thing, yeah.
And they just had to go, can't use that.
There is a weird, like, subplot that doesn't really get explained as well.
I don't know if you want to mention that or just let whoever watch it and go, like, where does that go?
Watch it and see if you find out what that subplot even is. You might not realise on the first time.
I gotta say, if you can figure it out, just...
there is a really good short YouTube video that helps people understand this in a really simple way. I discovered it last year when I rewatched this film.
Yeah.
When I couldn't sleep one night, and that was a good video.
This film had been keeping you up that long. You couldn't sleep that night and you had to watch that video just to figure it out.
No, that wasn't at all. I wanted to watch the film again, but no, I was watching some film theory videos on YouTube, and then this one popped up about explaining Primer, and I thought, oh, I'll get out and watch. And I was like, oh, they made that sound really simple. And then I was like, I do like Primer, so I'll watch it again. So I watched it again.
Yeah.
I think we watched it this time through Freebie.
Yeah.
Which is like a free TV service through Amazon. Yeah. I don't even think you need an Amazon subscription to use Freebie. It was IMDb TV. So if you're interested in checking it out in the UK, Freebie, I assume it's probably on Freebie and other streaming services worldwide. It is 20 years old this year, which has only just occurred to me.
Hitting the anniversaries this year.
But it's a great film. And any person that's a fan of time travel, it's definitely worth checking out.
Other mind-bending movies. And you want to... And you want to... I'll get to say, if you want to watch something and really have a good think, this is it.
Yeah.
About 80 minutes of hardcore thinking.
Or read Plato.
Yeah, could do that.
He was a famous thinker. Shall we move to the next one, or is there anything else you'd like to add about this?
Well, I'm going to say, if I'm right, Shane Curry didn't really have any experience in any of the fields he was actually doing before making this film. I think he jumped into the lead role because they couldn't find an actor.
Oh, yeah.
He ended up doing the score because... why not? And everything else pretty much just because it didn't have the budget. Really.
Yeah, and they shot on film, which is more expected, I guess, at that time.
Yeah.
And he had to run all the film through into digital so he could edit it on his computer at home. So it lost some visual quality and I think sound quality. So they had to do some ADR work on pickup line.
Yeah. Well, apparently, because they've got like that little footage sort of thing filmed, the 80 minutes with like full.
Yeah.
I didn't hear any of it. I'm just going to ask you if you heard him mutter cut at the end of any scenes.
I don't remember hearing. It would really depend on your quality of sound system at home and really paid attention to it.
That's what I thought, but I didn't hear it. But keep your eye out.
I feel like watching it with my headphones on now.
Yeah, apparently Mutton's cut every sort.
Brilliant. There's something about its video quality, actually, that reminds me of the first Saw film.
That sort of just cheap, it's just grainy.
Yeah. That's why I said gritty, because it's just that, and there's like a weird texture of heat to it as well. Like, it just looks hot where they are.
Well, I imagine it's LA.
I would guess so. I never looked that up. I'll see if I can quickly find it.
Oh, filming
Sure.
locations, it's Texas.
All right, so it is hot.
Yeah.
I assume Texas is hot, right?
Always looks hot.
Yeah.
Unless it's winter.
Man, are you hungry? I haven't eaten since later this afternoon.
Sounds like you on any other day.
I wrote that quote down.
Next up is All Superheroes Must Die. I wanted to pick a low-budget film, which I did with Primer, but that was my sci-fi choice. The FP could have been my choice here, as it is definitely the better film. I'm a fan of Jason Trost's work. I chose All Superheroes Must Die because I love a good superhero story, and I like how unique this one still feels over a decade later, now that the film industry is saturated in the superhero genre.
What happened to using what we have to save people? You can't save everybody, man. We lose, we die. Okay, once we get out of here, we can sit down and point fingers at each other. But right now, if we slip up just once, he will find a way to kill us.
2011's All Superheroes Must Die. The synopsis: all superheroes find themselves abducted by their arch-nemesis and are forced to compete in a series of challenges in order to save an abandoned town full of kidnapped innocent civilians. And as you said, it's written, directed and stars Jason Trost. He plays Charge, aka John. Lucas Till is Cutthroat, aka Ben. Sophie Merkley is Shadow, aka Jill. Lee Valmassi is The Wall, aka Charlie, and James Remar to play the big bad Rickshaw. And you'll probably want me to mention the other three, right?
Yeah.
That's your personal favourite to name throughout these films is Sean Whalen. He's Manpower.
We previously discussed him briefly because I mentioned him in these films, I think, when we discussed Tammy and the T-Rex. He's the guy that got disemboweled.
Yes, you did. You took such pride in recognising him. And there's Nick Principe as Sledgesaw.
Yeah.
And we mentioned earlier Bryan Taylor, director of Crank 2, Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance. He's just credited as Man. Oh, he did Happy as well, Bryan Taylor.
Happy?
Yeah, the TV series based on Grant Morrison. Yeah. And the one I'm looking forward to from him is Hellboy, the Crooked Man. He's attached to that director. Yeah, he's directing that apparently.
We could maybe do a Hellboy episode for when the new Hellboy's out.
Ah, good idea. There are 3 live-action movies and 2 animated ones. The animated ones are the
Exactly,
better ones, I think.
Yeah.
But we're not here to talk about Hellboy.
No, where did you get to?
I just went through the cast.
Oh, Bryan Taylor and stuff.
Yeah, and then I got distracted by Bryan Taylor and Hellboy.
The cinematographer on this is Amanda Trays.
Right? Have they worked on other Trost movies?
I don't think so.
No.
She did the cinematography on this, and she did the cinematography on Trip, which was like a little horror film from like 2019, like a slasher with Omar Epps. It stars Omar Epps and Tom Atkins, and
Yeah.
it was a pretty good little slasher. It's only got a 4.9 on IMDb, so that'll give you an idea of what you're going in for.
That's better than that, I'd say.
It was above average.
With a Netflix film.
I'm not sure. I
We
think we
watched
watched on Netflix.
In my head, it was a Netflix film, and I was thinking it's good for a Netflix film.
Yeah, but she works normally as a camera and electric department on films,
Right.
so I'm guessing electrician.
Yeah.
But they worked on Bad Neighbours 2 and Popstar Never Stopping as well, you see.
Yeah.
There's clearly a
Overlap.
between them. Yeah, bringing in somebody they want for the parts, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
So I decided to bring that up.
Yeah.
The person that does the music on this is George Holdcroft. I never got note of what else they worked on, sadly.
He'd just done the FP as far as I'm aware.
All right, the same year as that.
Yeah, that I've noted anyway.
He stars as an innocent in this, because you get the innocents that Rickshaw's got hostage, aren't they, basically?
Yeah,
Civilians in the
Civilians.
town that they're in.
Yeah.
Yeah, he plays one of them, as does the makeup artist on this film, Alexis Acosta. They're one of the innocents as well, which I thought was quite interesting.
Yeah.
I think we said this, but Jason Trost edits as well as writes and directs.
Right. I don't think we mentioned that, but yeah, he does.
Oh, I don't know if you said, but all these budgets are estimated, but this was apparently done for about $20,000.
$20,000.
Yeah. And I don't know if you've said, but it's said on the trivia for this that James Remar shot all his scenes in, I think, 5 hours.
Yeah. All in that same location. So
Yeah.
Overall, it was shot in 15 days.
Yeah.
Just over 2 weeks. Took 10 hours a day.
I don't mean this in any offence, but it kind of looks like a film that would be shot in 2 weeks, because there's like a lot of
Same location.
same locations.
Low budget.
Yeah, and the locations are quite. I feel like they're all in close proximity.
Yeah. Well, it's that little town, right?
You know what I mean? Like, I feel if they just turned the camera 180 degrees, we'd see another piece of the film.
Yeah. The camera's It deleted a few scenes while filming because there were flashback stuff, because you get flashbacks occasionally.
Yeah.
They cut some of that out because it just didn't flow too well.
Yeah.
I'd like to know what they were.
With time, apparently.
Yeah, and budget.
Yeah.
I thought they did quite well with it all.
Yeah, I would say so.
I think the overall look of the film's pretty solid. Kind of gritty, grungy sort of looking.
Yeah, because these are original superheroes. They don't exist anywhere else.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, they kind of
Very
they
good.
exist in a comic book that he wrote tie into
Yeah.
this. And
the sequel.
literally the sequels to this, yeah. They never existed prior to this movie.
Yeah.
So it's all an original thing.
Yeah.
They seem like a good little team of heroes, to be honest. I was quite interested.
Yeah. Maybe it's because I really like superheroes, but I'm always interested in the history of...
Because this, to me, it almost feels, a sense of like Watchmen.
Yeah.
In the fact that it's almost like a deconstruction of superheroes,
Yeah.
They awaken and they all learn they've been injected and their powers are missing.
Yeah.
Some interesting stuff here. Some people for the trailer said it looks like it's something meets Saw.
Like the Watchmen meets Saw.
I'm not sure. I don't think so.
I remember a lot of people saying it looks like Saw with superheroes.
Well, it kind of is. It's not as gory as Saw.
No.
And as a super villain doing this, it kind of makes sense. It's what you would expect.
Yeah.
I get a sense of the Warriors from this as well, but I think it's more with the cinematography. It's that, like, not murky, but there's a certain way that the film looks that reminds me of the Warriors. I mean, having James Remar in it doesn't help. But I would guess that Jason Trust and Brandon Trust both like the Warriors.
Most likely, looking at the style of these
On
films
IMDb,
anyway.
it says for Jason Trust that his favourite film is Terminator 2.
Yeah.
But for Brandon Trust, it says his favourite film is Streets of Fire.
Nice.
So to have seen Streets of Fire, you must have seen The Warriors before it, right?
Yeah.
So it gives me the idea that they both are familiar with The Warriors.
Yeah.
I mean, just because Brandon Trust's seen it doesn't mean Jason Trust has, but as brothers growing up, what seems to be in the movie industry, I would expect them to have seen them sort of films.
Yeah. I read about Jason Trust really like Terminator 2 as well. And all I felt is like, when I look at his films, I'd suspect more The Terminator as his favourite film.
Yeah, I would say so.
I guess that just means he knows how to work that lower budget.
Yeah, definitely. It's a shame he can't get bigger budgets, to be honest. I would really love to see what he would do with like a proper studio's budget given to him.
Yeah, yeah.
I think we were just saying it earlier. We think he'd have maybe been quite a prolific director if he'd have been doing this in the 70s, 80s or 90s.
Yeah.
Because sadly, he just seems lost. He's definitely got his own set of fans online and so on, which is great to see.
Yeah.
This film did not review well at all when it came out.
No, and not a lot of people like it. They just complain about low budget.
Which is a shame. It really is. There's some good stuff in here. I like I said, I like the heroes. I mean, his sister Sarah Trost apparently put these costumes together in a week.
Yeah,
It was.
it was in 2 weeks. I can't remember what she had to do, but she had to do these in 2 weeks, and then she was moving on to some other project or something.
Yeah.
And I didn't know whatever that other project.
Oh, Project Runway.
Right.
I would say Jason Trust is a grindhouse director.
Yeah.
Mostly because it says that grindhouse is an American term for a theatre that mainly shows low-budget horror, splatter, and exploitation films for adults. And I don't think these are particularly gory. There's not much blood or anything. And they're definitely not really exploitation films, but
No.
there is a sense of horror, I would say, in a lot of them, bar the FP and Wet and Reckless.
Yeah.
It just really fits that grindhouse sort of thing. But like I said, I wouldn't say all these films truly fit the grindhouse genre.
Yeah, just all well-made independent movies.
For sure. Also for this, you said Lucas Till.
Yeah.
Who was your favourite character in one of the X-Men films.
X-Men First Class and X-Men... I think he's in Days of Future Past a bit, and he's in X-Men Apocalypse.
But he plays Havoc in them.
Yeah, Alex Summers.
I don't know if it's still going, but he was the lead in the MacGyver reboot series. It's not MacGyver. Is it MacGyver?
Yeah, MacGyver.
Yeah. You know him as Goldeneye.
Yeah, Blue Mountain State.
Yeah.
Great show.
That's a great little sitcom about college American football team, isn't it?
Yeah, great.
Yeah, I think so. Then that stars the Reacher actor, Alan Richardson, that people seem to be all know now, so worth checking out.
Yeah.
But yeah, this film I particularly like. I also really like how it uses a piece of classical music. It uses Beethoven's Sonata 14, which is a great piece of music anyway, but just how it's incorporated into the music element of the film, I think, is a pretty cool thing. And it's the idea of like Rickshaw displaying his intelligence, I guess, just within the music to the film, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because he's managed to capture 4 heroes and then have them go through a series of tasks where they're pretty much like, I don't think I'm spoiling it if I say they're set up to fail, am I?
Oh, really? Because you said it's like Saw, and in a way Saw, and kind of a bit like that, if you ask me.
Yeah, it's a game for losers. As in, like, there are no winners.
Yeah.
I remember seeing the trailer for this before it came out, and I remember buying the Blu-ray. In fact, I even have my Blu-ray signed by James Remar. And he was like, this was a crazy movie to work on. But he said it in a way that sounded like it was fun for him, even though it was only like 4 or 5 hours.
5 hours. 5 hours. Yeah, 5 hours.
Because his is like a one location bit, isn't it, really? So it took that long.
And he's great at it.
Yeah, he seems to be enjoying himself in the film, I would say.
Yeah.
But I like the grit this film has, and I think maybe that's something why it wasn't particularly well received at the time. Yeah, we just started the Avengers franchise, essentially, when this came out, hadn't we? 2011.
Yeah.
You know, the Avengers, you know, people wanting bright superheroes.
Yeah, no one really liked the dark, gritty stuff that Zack Snyder wanted to do around this time.
Yeah. It's such a good idea, this film.
Yeah.
And I feel it's something only somebody that reads comic books would want to make.
I think so, because I just kind of want to get the point across that a lot of people compare it to Saw. Like, I know we've said it's similar to Saw, but that's because that's what a lot of people will know.
Yeah, I wouldn't have really said it was similar to Saw. That never really...
To me, it's more... Rickshaw's more like Arcade from X-Men.
Yeah, and a little bit Riddler.
Yeah, but Arcade is known for doing these sort of big elaborate traps and they're supposed to fail. And I know that to me just came in for Riddler a bit later. Like Arcade, that was his thing, and then Riddler just started doing it.
But, I mean, for the fact that he leaves, like, clues in this of where they need to go next. Or, like a sick treasure hunt, isn't it, really?
Yeah. But, I guess it is a bit like Riddler still as well on that fact. Yeah, I'd say more Arcade.
Well, I could have watched several more of these, you know? Like,
I'd love to have seen stuff before this.
Yeah, who knows? We could have ended up with that if this was more received.
Yeah.
Or better received, should I say.
Yeah.
There seemed to be a lot of hype for this when the trailer came out, because I think I discovered it through a website called Geek Tyrant at the time that was doing a little write-up about its trailer.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds something like I'm into, or like something I'm into. Some people say it's not the movie they thought it was going to be, but I don't know what movie they were expecting.
Maybe it's what's on the poster with the helicopter flying about behind them.
Yeah, that is a bit too Hollywoody, isn't it?
Yeah, I think they tried to bring in a wider audience and it kind of backfired.
Maybe. I don't know who the artwork is for these posters either.
No, it's a good poster.
Oh, for sure.
Good poster, yeah, don't get me wrong, but it's not, as you said, it's not as promised to what people were expecting, I think, and that doesn't help.
No, it don't.
From superhero fare to something just as mythic. I wanted something from before I was born. Batman only just makes that cut, and it is also largely popular, so I chose a film that should be as popular as the ones it shared an episode with, which was Angel Heart and Devil's Advocate. I chose God Told Me To.
Why did you attack all those people? God told me to.
1976's God Told Me To, written and directed by Larry Cohen, produced by him also. It stars Tony LoBianco as Peter J. Nicholas, Deborah Raffin as Casey Foster. She's credited as a guest star, though. And Sandy Dennis as Martha Nicholas, Sylvia Sidney as Elizabeth Mullin, Sammy Williams as Harold Gaiman, Richard Lynch as Bernard Phillips, and Sam Levens as Everett Lucas. The synopsis, as IMDb puts it, is a New York detective investigates a series of murders committed by random New Yorkers who claim that God told them to. This is a film I discovered on Amazon Prime maybe a year ago or thereabouts and liked it pretty much straight off. Yeah, obviously it's 70s, but there's something very 70s about it in its feel and aesthetic. Although the cinematography is done by Paul Glickman, who also worked on Blind Alley, which was a Coen film, and The Stuff, which was also Coen again. The cinematography of this is very handheld. It's very on the streets kind of thing. It's got that sort of feel. Yeah. And just from the opening, I really like it. There's a tense vibe with just the establishing shots of New York, somehow keeps it tense, along with the accompanying music by Frank Cordell. I don't know anything else he's actually worked on, but this was the last film that he did the music for. Yeah. And then not long after them establishing shots, you start to see people getting picked off the streets of New York by a sniper, and there's some really good squib work in that. Yeah. Anything else you want to say? It's a really great detective story, just trying to piece everything together and working it out. I think it's very good, very different, even for its time. And it's got like the noir-esque sort of style that we both like, I guess. And just really like a lot of the visual shots as well. Yeah. That come into play a bit later. And there is some weird stuff in there. Yeah, there's, I think we kind of hinted at it last week when we
mentioned what films we were doing for this week, that there is like a sort of religious theme of divine intervention.
Yeah.
And here it works due to the cop being a religious fanatic almost, really. You learn that he's estranged from his wife, but he won't have a divorce because it's not very godly.
Yeah.
He's going to mass every morning. He gets up early just to sneak out to mass.
Yeah.
And so this case is something he gets a bit obsessed with, which leads to him being dismissed off the force temporarily anyway.
Yeah.
So he carries on obsessing about the case and looks into it.
Yeah.
And then he learns of this. I don't want to say too much actually, because I don't want to spoil it. It's a really great detective story, and it starts to go into the bizarre in a great, almost like in an X-Files way.
Yeah. So it starts to unravel. That's where it gets really interesting. Like I said, it's very different for its time. Or maybe I just have to watch more 70s films. Could be that.
Sadly, it doesn't have a great rating on IMDb. I think it's only a 5 point something.
6.2.
Yeah, and I think on Rotten Tomatoes it's like a 5.2 or something like that. Not that I'm really bothered about aggregate scores anyway, but
No, but it's a bit sad when you watch a great film like this and you go online thinking everyone should think it's as good as that, and it's like I said to me, I think this is probably one of my favourite 70s films as well.
It really holds up as well. I think it's to do with the story it's telling.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's the fact that it is just a simple detective story that helps it stay relevant.
Yeah.
And the idea of looking into religion, I guess, is something that's always going to be a theme in teams.
Yeah. It does fall into a lot of noir stuff because he does seem like he's not usual sort of detective lead, is he? Like you said, he's religious fanatic and he goes off kind of doing his own thing.
I guess that's where he's also different to your regular noir characters. Normally they're more in a moral grey area.
Well, he kind of is with the whole,
because he's stricken off the force.
Not just that, but his wife's situation as well.
Yeah, I guess.
He's not exactly, he is kind of in a grey area himself to a lot of people's way of looking at things. I think he kind of comes off in a grey area.
I mean, he's not one of them where he's drinking on the job. And
no, he's not like that, but he's kind of
pointing a gun at people all the time kind of thing. He's not that type of detective.
No.
So it also sets it apart to the regular noir genre as well.
Yeah, I suppose so. But it does line up with a lot of them sort of.
But like you said, as this goes on, it starts to really unravel into something quite, not extreme, but unexpected. And I think it would be a film hard to convince somebody to watch in a general conversation if you were to actually just start telling them plot elements and spoiling it. People are like, oh, I'm not interested anymore.
Maybe that's why it has the low rating, because I think some people might get into it and think this is a really interesting story, and then as it goes a bit off kind of thing, they'll go like, oh, this is weird, and leave it.
But Larry Cohen seems to be able to write pretty decent thrillers, though, when you look at his history. Because he started in the 70s and 80s with this, It's Alive, which is like a cult horror thing. There was even a remake somewhere in the 2000s. He created Maniac Cop, which is its own thing, and that's been remade and got sequels also. And then, like you mentioned, he worked on Cellular and Phone Booth as a scriptwriter, and became big. They're both Schumacher, right? No, Cellular's not Schumacher.
No. But I do find it odd that he seems to have a thing against, like,
phones.
Yeah.
I don't like it when people don't talk to me properly.
And the thing is, they're also, like, out and about.
Yeah.
It's like, don't be in a film booth.
I don't know if I'm right. There's a little more, like, erratic and more than one location as Phone Booth.
Yeah.
It's pretty much one location for...
Yeah, but I do like how he based thrillers around. But
yeah. Strange that Phone Booth is probably the most known out of those two.
Yeah?
Yeah, because phone booths were already kind of dying off by this point, and the mobile was becoming a thing.
Right. Yeah, I suppose so.
Or maybe that's the charm to it. Just people nostalgia about phone boxes.
Maybe.
But no, God told me to. It's one of them where if you like a good detective story and you're okay with it, something being a little off-center from most, then you are probably going to enjoy this.
Yeah, like you said, if you enjoy X-Files, which is probably a thing for all these films. But this one mainly.
Yeah.
Because it comes from the detective angle as well.
Yeah. Well, the next...
Yeah, one kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, this is more...
like a police procedural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, a bit more X-Files than Angel Heart.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to say about this?
One of your favourite actors was the lead character in this.
Yeah.
Robert Forster was originally the lead.
Oh, no way.
Got replaced.
Oh, one quick thing about this is early on in the film, it features the St. Patrick's Day Parade, which they didn't have a permit to film there, but they filmed anyway.
Yeah.
But Andy Kaufman, famous American comedian actor, I think even stand-up, has a small part in this film. And he got himself into a bit of a scuffle as he jumped over the barricades or something to do his scene. I'm not quite sure what the story is. I can't remember, but it's an odd one. I think Andy Kaufman, if I'm right, is who Jim Carrey plays in Man on the Moon.
Yeah.
Which has now become a little problematic because of Jim Carrey's on-set persona of Kaufman.
Yeah.
But as a film, Man on the Moon's a great watch.
Yeah.
I love a good action film, so I had to add an action film. And there were a few good choices from the films we discussed this year. I chose a non-English language film, and it's generally lesser known. I chose The Villainess. I love it. There are some fantastic moments, and it even inspired a scene in a John Wick film. I think it's John Wick 3. So this is a certified banger for an action pick.
연수 씨가 어떤 사람이라도 어떤 일이 있어도 타겟 누구였던 겁니까?
그 남자를 죽여야만 내가 살 수 있다.
2017's The Villainess. It's South Korean. It's directed and written by Jung Byung-gil, if I'm saying that name right. I hope so. It's also co-written by Byung Sik Jung. I hope I'm saying that right as well. The synopsis on IMDb: a female assassin leaves a trail of bodies behind her as she seeks revenge. The main character is Suki, played by Kim Ok-bin. Then we have Sung Jun as Hyun So, Kim Seo Hyung as Chief Kwon. Now we've got Jo Eun-ji as Kim Seon, Min Ye-ji as Suki, but it's the young Suki.
Yeah.
Park Shul-min as Suki's father, Son Min-ji, I hope I'm saying these names right, as Min-ju,
I can't help you. I haven't got these names listed.
and Kim Yoo-woo as Yoo-hai, I think it is, which was Suki's daughter. I've butchered every name, I reckon.
So maybe that was your goal for this episode.
What, to butcher it?
Just butcher as many names as possible.
Oh, I hope not. This is my favourite one we're covering this week.
And it's also mine.
I mean, I love it. I mean, we talked about the opening for Nikita, but my God, the opening of this is incredible. It's just a first-person action scene, and it's just mental in all the best ways, right?
Oh, yeah.
Plus, the lighting really sets the mood in the opening.
Yeah.
It's in like purpley blue neons.
Yeah.
It's in the poster and a lot of the artworks of this film.
That was the most memorable part of the film.
Yeah. The cinematographer is Jung Hun Park. In fact, I never got what else he did, and I wish I had, because cinematography on this is great. And I know they use a lot of different cameras. They were even using a lot smaller cameras than what you would normally use to shoot films on.
Because that helped with the first person.
Yeah. It looks like there's a scene towards the end, like a big fight scene on a bus. It looks like they're using like a fisheye lens. I think it's a fisheye lens.
Yeah, I believe so.
It looks like they're using something like that, and you get this really sort of claustrophobic feel for the bus, and it's fantastic. One of my favourite fights on a bus, I would say.
Yeah.
This is like Nikita in the fact that, again, she's taken in to be trained as a spy from what seems to be a criminal background, because it all comes back later, if I'm right.
Yeah.
So, like Nikita, it follows the drama a little more, and the character.
Yeah.
And the methods to becoming the spy, and then when she is essentially out for revenge once she tries to get out, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's such a great build. It's a bit of a non-linear plot as well, in a way, how it keeps skipping back to her origins before she got taken in and so on. But it's just fantastic.
It's a greatly crafted film, because they could have told it, linear sense, and I think it had just come off as a good action film, or just a good film in general. But how they've done it kept you kind of interested. And...
Yeah, because you always needed a little bit more backstory. It's like, okay, but why?
Yeah.
But it's easy enough to follow.
Yeah.
It's just great. Again, there's a sniper scene in this similar to the one but I think I mentioned that when we talked about Nikita.
Yeah.
Same with the kitchen shootout.
Yeah.
Shootout in the kitchen in this was phenomenal. I've actually made a note. The action was not choppy. Like normally at this stage you'd have your action scenes are quite cut, but here it wasn't.
No.
And it was just great. The main standout scene for me is the opening with this, like it was for Nikita.
Yeah.
I don't think it ever got back to that level.
No.
There's close, there's the bus, and then before the bus there's the bikes with the swords.
Yeah.
They're fighting with swords on motorbikes, which is what inspired the one from John Wick 3.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if this was filmed in the same way. I don't know if you've seen the behind the scenes for doing it on John Wick 3. Then bikes aren't actually racing on the road. They're just like on a simulated floor, and the bikes just move on the floor at different speeds.
Being a bit disappointed when I saw the thing about they did that at the same time. I just couldn't help
but
but respect
when you watch the film, the initiative to do that.
Yeah.
But
I had to
here, I'm not sure how it was filmed. I'm guessing quite similar.
Yeah.
But it's so fast.
It looked great.
Yeah.
The whole film, to be fair, looks great.
Yeah.
There's not a thing out of place.
No. There's a bit of a romance story. Well, I think there was in Nikita and previous as well. There's like a love interest thing. I think it's done better here.
Yeah. That's another thing. This feels like another remake of Nikita, but actually improving.
Yeah, every stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it pretty much does. Because there's some rom-com tropes in here. There's a meet cute with the neighbour.
Yeah, he's a good character.
Yeah, he is. There's the brolly in the rain. When it's raining, he puts his brolly up for her. There's also a great scene where he goes and chases the bus so it stops for her. He runs after it because she's running with her child. And he's like, oh, she obviously can't make it, and just like goes into a sprint and gets the bus.
I just want to say that's something that we mentioned last week with Salt, where when it was originally Tom Cruise, apparently he had a child.
Yeah.
And they took it out.
Yeah, because they were like, it wouldn't work with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, here they made it work. Yeah, and it doesn't stop you forgetting that she's a mum either. It's very much a core part of her character in this, that she is a mother.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff in the plot that I really love about this, but I don't want to spoil it because of how it twists things and reveals it as well. It would spoil it because of that non-linear format, I think.
Yeah.
So I don't really want to say any more than I've said.
I think when you mention the rom-com tropes with this, I think that really shows how well balanced it is as a movie.
Yeah.
Because it can do all that, and at the same time, it's a revenge thriller action thing, and it's got everything happening, and it's so well balanced.
Yeah.
It does everything just perfectly well.
I would maybe not rom-com trope. Well, the things you would find in a rom-com.
Yeah.
But it's just the romance element, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's no comedy play. There's some comedy.
There is comedy in it.
But it's so well balanced. But I've not seen many Korean films, which is a shame to be honest, because I've seen a few and they're absolute bangers.
Yeah.
But they're very good at mixing genres in a way.
Yeah.
Or in the ones I've seen anyway. And they always try and put some sort of romance plot in there.
Yeah.
It seems very much
drama.
Yeah. It seems very much of a Korean thing to do.
Yeah.
But again, this is my favourite, and there's not much more I can say without spoiling it, other than the fact that it's just fantastic. And this is the one I would say is a must watch.
Yeah.
Even from last week's episode, this is the one I would throw out as a must watch.
Yeah. Because you've got Salt, I think that's basic action thriller.
Salt's great, but it's very boring.
Yeah. And then you've got Atomic Blonde, which we said was kind of John Wick.
Yeah.
But again, it's an action thriller.
Yeah.
They're good by any means.
No.
AY is a good one as well, but this is the most unique, I think, even though we've said it's a lot like Nikita.
Yeah.
It does all that better.
And it doesn't feel so much. I think it did to us because we just watched Nikita like hours before.
And you could see the similarities there. There's a lot of it.
But here it's actually elevated it.
Yeah. And this does actually feel like what I expected Nikita to feel like. Maybe it doesn't help. No, I watched this first anyway. I did watch this.
We got to see this in the cinemas.
Yeah.
In fact, I think this is our third time watching this because I think we watched it again when it came to Amazon for a while.
Most likely.
Not long after we saw it in cinema.
Most likely. But I think everyone has to watch that opening scene.
It's such a great opening scene. It really is. Like the first person aspect of it. And she goes into like a gymnasium to fight these guys. And there's mirrors in there. And as far as I can tell, you can't see the camera guy in the mirror.
I genuinely think camera is on her.
On her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think so.
I couldn't.
But if you remember, once she sees a mirror, it flips round and it's regular.
Yeah.
Then you couldn't see the camera then. So,
but I don't know when it's cut.
I don't know.
Could be a really good editing job.
But yeah, it's fantastic.
Really well
yeah, very well made. I don't think there's any flaws in that film, other than the fact that maybe due to how it's non-linear pacing.
Yeah, sometimes it can feel a bit, and we're back to the drama story. Back to the present day. I think it works well enough.
It's balanced well.
Yeah.
But I think there's a sort of a feel there where it is slowing down.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's practically flawless.
Yeah, I think in the middle where it kind of sets up, but it's setting things up.
Yeah.
And once it pays off, it really pays off.
I would love to see a sequel to this if they could make one.
It'd be good if they could make one, but I'm not.
But at the same time, yeah, I mean, I love the John Wick films, and I kind of feel the John Wick films kind of get better every time, so it is worth making a sequel.
John Wick, for me, it doesn't get better, it just elevates. Or just on the action.
Yeah, I know what you mean. That's
what I mean it for.
Yeah.
So I guess on that aspect, they do feel like they get better. But John Wick, I'd have been happy with just the first one.
Because John Wick's getting a spin-off with the ballerina thing, which is supposed to be, I can't remember her name now. I think she's in Knock Knock with
Ana de Armas.
That's her, yeah, Ana de Armas. I just don't know if they can do better than The Villainess or Red Sparrow that we're going to talk about next.
I believe it's going to be more an action film, which, if that's what it's going to aim for, it definitely be better than like Red Sparrow.
Or I guess we're looking for Atomic Blonde meets Red Sparrow.
Probably more than that, yeah.
But I just don't think it's going to be as interesting as some of these we've discussed this week and last.
No.
I mean, I'd like to be proven wrong.
Yeah.
I guess we'll find out. Are we moving on? Is there anything more you want to say about this? Because there's certain things I would love to talk about with The Villainess, but like I said, I don't want to spoil it for anyone that's not seen it. And I know for a fact this is probably a film that is not as well known as any of the others we've covered.
No, I can't really say any more, because other than it is just a great action film. If Kim Mok-bin does more action films, I'd be probably interested in watching those.
Yes, that would be a good shout and actually something worth looking up, to be honest. It's not like us to not look things up.
I looked up the director and writer for this, and they'd done a film, Carter, from 2 years ago, but I haven't seen it, so I can't say anything about it other than I've added it to my watch list.
Yeah, same. Lastly, let's end with a laugh. Dumb and Dumber would be the obvious choice, but plenty know of its existence, and yes, I'm yet to find a film funnier, but The Adventures of Ford Fairlane is a true cult classic, one that could certainly do with more eyes on it.
Hey, it's Ford Fairlane! Money! Hey, what are your names? Hill and Bob? Is that like what you do, huh?
So, 1990s, The Adventures of Ford Fairlane, on a budget of 20 million, estimated, I'm assuming, with it being such a fine number. It grossed worldwide $21,413,502. Directed by Rennie Harlin, written by Daniel Waters, James Capp, David Arnett, and based on the characters created by Rex Werner. Stars Andrew Dice Clay as Ford Fairlane, Wayne Newton as Julian Grendel, Priscilla Presley as Colleen Sutton, Morris Day as Don Cleveland, Lauren Holly as Jazz, Matty Corman as Zuzu Petals, Gilbert Gottfried as Johnny Crunch, David Patrick Kelly as Sam, Brendan Cole as the Kid, Robert Englund as Smiley, Ed O'Neill as Lieutenant Amos, and Vince Neil as Bobby Black. The synopsis, as IMDb gives it, is a vulgar private detective is hired to find a missing groupie and is drawn into a mystery involving a series of murders tied to the music industry. I'll let you start the discussion on this third and final adventure for this week.
This one's my favourite of the lot.
Yeah, I think it's mine.
I think Ford Fairlane as a character is just fantastic. He's so funny.
Yeah.
He's so great to just watch.
Yeah, he is.
And I know a lot of that comes from Andrew Dice Clay's stand-up routines. Well, some of it does.
Yeah.
I can't think what lines he brought in from his stand-up, but they did let him improvise.
There's only 2 or 3 lines, I think, from his stand-up.
Yeah, but he's still funny.
Yeah. As a rock and roll detective.
Yeah.
This is Priscilla Presley's only other film, apparently, outside of the Naked Gun trilogy.
Well, what a great film to be in.
Yeah. I just thought it was quite funny how she'd done these police parody series, I guess, with Naked Gun, and then did like a rock and roll detective movie when her late husband was such a big rock and roll star.
Yeah.
I think that shows, I don't know, some sort of bravery to do that, maybe.
Yeah.
I particularly like Lauren Holly being in this as Jazz because I think she's great in Dumb and Dumber, which is a all-time comedy hit.
Yeah.
And I think this is for me after discovering it as well.
Yeah.
A few little facts about characters though that I've got is Johnny Crunch, played by Gilbert Godfrey. Dice Clay wanted Howard Stern.
Yeah.
And Howard Stern saw a lot of him in that role, as in a lot of himself in that role.
Yeah.
And Dice Clay forced him to audition and he didn't get it. And Howard Stern's kind of pleased because he just didn't want to be playing himself,
Yeah.
which he thought he would have been doing this role. And Billy Idol was apparently cast as Smiley,
Yeah.
but had to drop out due to a bike accident, which is a shame. I think that'd have been a cool little role for him. And I don't know if anybody will know, but I said Vince Neil is Bobby Black. Vince Neil is from Motley Crue.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who now. They were playing in the band that he's in this film.
Yeah, he was the drummer.
And he became the drummer to Motley Crue, I think, in the late 90s.
Yeah. If I'm right, that whole band, in a way, is kind of a super group.
Yeah?
The drummer was a drummer for Ozzy Osbourne.
Right, okay.
One of the guitarists, I think, was a guitarist for Ozzy Osbourne. And then someone else, and they were from another band, and I can't remember what band. Why didn't I write that down? But yeah, they were all from bands anyway.
And speaking of bands, we see a list of bands in this film. One of the names of the bands is Ellen Aim and the Attackers.
Yeah.
Which links to Streets of Fire that we've discussed in an early episode, as that was the name of Diane Lane's band in that film.
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty cool because I think similar to that film, there's something in the energy of this about this rock and roll detective story that's going, and it lines up quite well. If this was serious, I think it would line up quite well with the rock and roll fable of Streets of Fire.
Yeah.
We said Rennie Harlin was the director of this. This is the film that got him the job of Die Hard 2,
Yep.
which I never made a note, but it went into production not much after he finished rapping on this. And
Yeah.
I think it released like a week prior to this.
Yeah.
So that was a quick turnaround on Die Hard 2, and I think it's obvious, as it's the lesser of the first 3, and 4 and 5 don't exist.
I don't know how much work Rennie Harlin puts into directing.
But Rennie Harlin brought on the director Oliver Wood for this because he liked his tone from Miami Vice. That's what he'd worked on previous, and a couple other things that I never made note of. But Oliver Wood went on to do quite well, I would say, in Hollywood after this, because Harlin kept him on to do Die Hard 2. He did Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey,
All right.
Face Off, He'd ended the Bourne trilogy, the first 3 Bourne films with Matt Damon. Equalizer 2.
The cinematographer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did the Jack Reacher sequel, Jack Reacher Never Go Back.
Right.
And his last film, sadly, because he passed away, I think, last year, his last film is Morbius, which I think isn't a particularly ugly film when you see some of the unedited scenes and so on from going into post.
No, it wasn't terrible. Wasn't great.
No. Classic car fans will recognise Ford Fairlane because it is a name of a 57 Ford.
Yep.
Or at least his car that it is a Ford Fairlane in the film is a 57 Fairlane. And classic car fans apparently sent letters of protest to the studio when one blows up in the film. And they said, no, it was a fiberglass replica on a new Ford chassis.
Oh, thank God.
There was also I really want to try and find this and get it for myself. DC Comics did a 4-part prequel miniseries.
Yeah.
And I said it was based on characters by Rex Weiner.
Yeah.
However it's pronounced.
Right.
It's because they were all short stories that he was telling in New York Rocker and LA Weekly
Yeah.
way back in the 70s, I think. I never made a note of the year.
So.
And they've all been compiled into a novelization released in 2018.
Right. Yeah. He also wrote an episode of Miami Vice in season 1.
Oh, sweet. I love early Miami Vice.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't have anything on the other screenplay writers other than Daniel Water.
I'm going to say you know Daniel Waters.
He does a lot of cult films like Heathers, Demolition Man, Hudson Hawk, and one of my favourites, Batman Returns.
Oh, is that one of your favourites?
I mean, out of what he works on, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I do like Batman Returns. It's one of my favourites.
The other writers, David Arnott, he did Last Action Hero.
Right, okay.
James Capp, he did some TV series that I made note of, which were Freddy's Nightmares and Mortal Kombat Conquest.
Oh, I like Conquest.
Yeah.
Or is that the animated one?
No,
Conquest
is live action.
Live action one. Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
I didn't recognise any films that they'd worked on any. I just thought those were worth mentioning because they're more cult fan bases, I guess.
Yeah. I don't think this is as absurd as the others.
Oddly not, no.
Yet there's an amazing scene where you learn that Ford Fairlane has a pet koala bear.
Yes, he does.
And it's phenomenal.
I love it.
It's such a good romp, this film. I think if you enjoy detective stories in general, especially in like Hollywood noir sort of ones,
yeah,
I think there'll be something to be enjoyed here.
Definitely.
Especially for rock and roll fans as well, I would guess, because there's a lot of music references in this.
Yeah.
And I never made it. No, I did. David Patrick Kelly's in this from Warriors.
Yeah.
And many other things.
Yeah.
He's a phenomenal actor.
He is. It's always good to see him just pop up in something.
Famously played Luther in 48 Hours.
Yeah, and Luther in the Warriors.
That's what I was going to say first, and I thought, no, I'll say 48 Hours. I was going to say there's a lot of good jokes in this, and there are, but I think a lot of them come from Dice Clay's cadence, how he chooses to talk in this.
Yeah.
I could try and do an impression, but it just wouldn't be worth it, so I'll let you put a clip in somewhere. Just how good it is with his little, hey, sort of noises that he says at the end of sentences and stuff.
Hey, you're that guy, the private eye.
You're a poet and didn't know it. Oh!
It's such a great film. He was nearly taken from this film because one of the producers, I think it was Joel Silver, 2 weeks or so before filming, was like, no, he's too fat.
Yeah.
Which he either lost a lot of weight before filming, or Joel Silver doesn't understand what fat people are. Maybe his name is not Joel Silver, maybe it's Joel Slither, because he's a slither of a man.
I wouldn't say that. He's a big producer, isn't he?
Oh yeah, he does a lot. There's very rare an old film quote that I'm like, I bloody love this film, and his name is not attached to it.
Yeah. I think it was Roger Ebert that said that Andrew Dice Clay could have been a great actor from what he saw in there.
Because he didn't like anything of the movie, really, but he was like, he could be a great leading man because he's got this, like, confidence about him.
Yeah.
Which he does.
Yeah.
But I think that also comes from being a stand-up comic.
Yeah.
Because it takes a lot of confidence, I think, to get up on stage and tell jokes, especially when you're doing jokes like what Dice Clay was doing at the time, because they were a bit risky and a bit pushing boundaries. That he was kind of one of the first celebrities to get cancelled.
Yeah.
There's a reference in this film that Ford Fairlane's like, oh, they don't let me on MTV anymore. So they banned me on MTV. Well, Dice Clay, not long before this, was actually banned from MTV.
Yeah.
I can't remember what for now, but definitely for one of his jokes.
Yeah. A lot of people said they blurred the line of the on-stage persona and his real life self.
Yeah.
Which is a shame.
And it feels like some of his stage persona comes into the Ford Fairlane character in this film.
Yeah.
But from the stand-up I've seen of him, I've only seen one of his shows. It was on YouTube. I think it works.
Oh, yeah.
It's made me want to buy the novel anyway to read the original stories by Rex Weiner.
Yeah.
See what they're like. Because if there is like as fun as this, with that sort of tongue-in-cheek attitude as it goes through, then yeah, it's great. Because this is a really good pulpy comedy.
Yeah.
And there's clearly a lot of attention to detail in this, I feel, in the sets and what's there and how the characters move, style, design, etc.
Yeah.
Because for a movie that came out in 1990, it's not particularly infused with a lot of 90s pop culture.
No. but it's 1990, so
Yeah, but
it's pretty much an 80s movie.
I don't particularly think there's a lot of 80s infusion in there. There's a certain style to it, but the style that I feel is coming off from it comes from Streets of Fire. All the Streets of Fire 80s.
Yeah.
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe it is an 80s movie, but it doesn't feel like your typical 80s movie.
Market on the cusp of entering the 90s.
Yeah, possibly.
Every decade you get to the start of the next decade and you just notice that things are changing.
Yeah.
It's not the stereotypical version of it anymore.
But of the Remy Harlan films I've seen,
Exorcist the beginning?
this is my favourite.
Right.
Then Exorcist the beginning.
Not Mindhunters.
Oh, I forgot about Mindhunters.
What about Cliffhanger?
Cliffhanger's okay.
What about...
I mentioned Cliffhanger, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, John Lithgow.
Yeah.
Pretty much mentioned Die Hard 2 with Michael Kamen. Rennie Harlan did the Misfits from the other year, which is a Pierce Brosnan movie.
Haven't seen it.
We have seen it.
Have I?
Yeah, it's the heist one. Pierce Brosnan comes in to help his daughter or something.
You sure I've seen it?
Yeah, we watched it the other year. It weren't as good as we thought it were going to be,
Right.
and we didn't understand why. Oh, Rennie Harlan also does 12 rounds.
Okay. Yeah, still not as good as this.
No.
But 12 Rounds might be my next favourite of his.
Yeah, he also does Long Kiss Goodnight.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
I'm
sure I've seen it.
But I
feel
keep
like-
telling me you've seen it, but I feel like you're also pulling from my memories of when I first watched it, and I weren't keen on it either. And it's a very
Plain.
Yeah, because I think with this, it's Ford Fairlane and the characters and just the overall plot that really pull it through.
If anything, maybe the right when you look at what Daniel Waters has worked on.
Oh, yeah. But that's what I'd say. Because you could just watch Andrew Dice Clay as Ford Fairlane. Well, maybe just Andrew Dice Clay, like, doing that persona anyway.
Yeah. But the surrounding characters, how they interact with him, really work as well.
Yeah.
Because everyone else, they're almost a pastiche of who they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
But he is a pastiche of what he's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So everyone's like just a little more heightened than reality. And he's like this big more than reality sort of thing colliding with them, and it just allows some great interaction stuff.
Yeah. He's a great character.
Yeah.
This is why I really wanted sequels too.
Well, you can read the short stories in the prequel comic.
Yeah. Booker of Banzai, I'd like to see more of that as well, to be fair.
Yeah. I don't think I've got much more to say on Ford Fairlane without trying to quote it and butchering the dialogue. But Ford Fairlane is my favourite.
Yeah, mine as well. Stephen Percy, the vocalist from Rat, was originally going to be the Black Plague lead singer that went to Vince Neil.
I read that and never made a note of it. Well, also, do you have anything on the music on this?
Music
It's credited by Yellow.
Yeah, which is...
Yellow seem to be a band?
Yeah, they are. They're a Swiss electronic pop duo.
Right. I never looked them up. I went on to IMDb and I was like, what do they do?
Yeah, they don't really do any other, like,
No.
score or anything like that films. It's just their music in general that usually features.
But it really helps work in this film, I think.
Yeah.
How it incorporates
They did.
music and
Yeah.
fits around.
They did a great job with it. Right, Billy Idol had a song on the soundtrack there. I can't remember what the song is.
There were quite a few good songs on the soundtrack.
But I know that's like the biggest thing from this movie. Like,
What, his song?
yeah, that was the thing that like won big.
Wow, really?
I think that won an award for best music in a film or something. I don't know what award it was like, but yeah.
Cradle of Love is the song, thank you, Google.
Yeah,
From the album Charmed Life.
yeah, that's the one. He won awards for having that song in this film.
Good for He won awards for having the song in the film.
That
It's like,
song,
Billy, you put that song in that film nobody likes. Have an award.
song was the like biggest thing that got an award from that.
Right.
Other than that, it was just like worse.
This apparently did really well, I think, in Norway.
Yeah,
Somehow Norway just loved it.
yeah.
And that was where it found much of its success as a film, anyway, which is an odd thing. It makes you wonder what was going on in Norway at the time. Before you see this Ford Fairlane film.
Maybe they just love the character.
Maybe.
Maybe
I
they're
think
the
it's
only
weird
people
that-
that got it.
Maybe. It's weird, isn't it, how a certain country's culture can just take to something so specific.
I
Like,
think another thing is in America, he was sort of cancelled, like we said.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people were like, no, he's too
risky.
Yeah.
Can't push a movie with
Yeah,
in a
don't want to see him at the minute.
Yeah.
Because he's, but I think in other places they'll go like, no, we don't know this guy, but he seems pretty cool.
Rennie Harlan described him as like a teddy bear on set to work with.
Yeah,
But Daniel Waters said that he didn't enjoy the experience working with him on this film.
yeah,
I don't know how much interaction they'd had, but I think the word he used was traumatic,
yeah,
and said that he's pleased that in an interview, Dice Clay said it was written by Bobby Rivers,
yeah,
which, I'll be honest, Bobby Rivers is such a cool rock and roll star name.
Yeah.
I feel like that was just intended as part of his comedic persona to do something like that.
yeah,
But it's a shame for Daniel Waters if he didn't enjoy working with him when Rennie Harlan did.
yeah.
Oh, the only bit that I have noted that I never got to say was Rennie Harlan's Ferrari appears at the beginning of this film. I think it's just showing off, to be honest.
Probably.
Because I don't think he'd made a particularly big name for himself by this point, had he? Like, he can go, hey, I'll just throw my Ferrari in this scene.
I'm trying to think what year Cliffhanger was.
Isn't Cliffhanger early 90s?
I don't know, 92. I think I've got him in order. Well, sort of 3 on here, where it's Die Hard 2, Cliffhanger and Deep Blue Sea.
I'll just do a quick Google on it.
Yeah.
Cliffhanger's 93.
93. Right. I thought them were in order. I wasn't sure.
What did Rennie Harlan do before this then?
Okay, let's go in Die Hard 2.
Yeah.
Die Hard 2 will have got him Cliffhanger. Cliffhanger will have got him Long Kiss Goodnight. Then was Deep Blue Sea, I think.
I can tell you what his current film is.
Strangers Chapter 1.
Yeah.
And then he's working on Chapter...
And he did The Bricklayer last year.
Yeah, with Aaron Eckhart.
Yeah.
I do want to watch that.
Before this, 2 or 3 shorts. Then in 86, he'd done a film, Arctic Heat.
Right.
Which looks like it might have another name looking at its poster.
Sounds about right.
Born American, it says on its poster.
Right.
It's a Cold War movie.
Right.
He did The Dream Master, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah. Because that's how he got Robert Englund in this.
Right. Then he'll have worked on this, but Die Hard 2 came out first.
Yeah.
By about a week or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah.
But I loathe Die Hard 2.
I know you do. I'm not keen on it, but it got us Die Hard 3.
Maybe the best Die Hard.
No.
Possibly the best Die Hard.
I kind of put 3 and the first one on par. Die Hard 2, I don't think I'd want to watch it again. I'm starting to watch Die Hard 5, so...
You don't need to.
I do. It's the last one.
Right. For now.
I think they'll wheel Bruce Willis out again.
You never know.
I hope not.
Is there anything else you want to say about this?
Can't think of anything, which is a shame.
Do you know where Zuzu Petal's name comes from?
No, I don't.
Comes from It's a Wonderful Life.
Ah, yeah.
It's a reference to There's No More Zuzu Petals in Your Pocket.
Yeah, that's right. I remember reading it, but it didn't really,
It's a weird reference.
Yeah.
Bit of a deep cut, that, isn't it, I think?
I do like what Ford Fairlane says about having conversations with her.
Why? What's he say?
It's having a conversation when Zero is like masturbating with a cheese grater.
Yes.
Talking to Zuzu was like masturbating with a cheese grater. Slightly amusing, but mostly painful.
That's a good example, actually, of some of the dialogue from this film.
Can't remember one of the things I wanted to reference with the kid, and I didn't write that down either.
Oh, is it how good it is when he's come out, they've had a quick conversation, and then as he's waiting for his car to, like, put its hood down or up, I can't remember which way. Well, the roof up or down anyway, because it's sort of remote in it.
Yeah.
Convertible. He, like, pulls out his cigarette, and the kid's, like, doing all the actions at the exact same time. Like, he clearly idolises Fairlane.
Yeah. And there was something he said to him, and can't remember what it was.
Oh, is it when he tells him not to swear?
It could be anything.
He's like, oh, you shouldn't use the F word. I've told you fucking once about using that word. It's something like that.
It might have been.
About not swearing and then just swears at him directly anyway.
It might have been. I know there was a lot of good, nearly every interaction with Fairlane is just
an absolute banger.
Yeah.
Get your notepad out and study.
I've got something serious to discuss.
Yeah, what is it? Premature ejaculation?
Yeah. There's no way I'm going to know everything down that he says.
He's such a fun character for me.
I think he's one of the best characters in film.
He's the closest I think we've had to Johnny Bravo on screen. But if Johnny Bravo was like R-rated or something.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Just phenomenal.
I think you might be onto something there.
Is that the end?
Yeah, that's the end of the adventure.
So that's my top 5. We've come to an end. There were certainly plenty more I could have selected, as I have fond memories of a cinema experience attached to films such as Deja Vu, Salt, Pandorum, and classics like The Terminator or Alien, but I wasn't allowed on board for that episode, so I thought I'm not choosing Alien. So I wouldn't take these 5 too seriously. They've all been great, and this leads to the end of the show. Thank you very much for joining me. If you want to click like and subscribe, go ahead. A review would be much appreciated. You can also follow online via the socials, Cynic_critique on X and Instagram, and as Cynic-critique on Blue Sky. It has been a great year of podcasting, and it isn't quite over yet, as we're back next week, where I will be joined by Thomas as usual. We will be ending the year with a movie celebrating its 25th anniversary. A film I am sure this time is on Thomas's list of all-timers. It is the Arnold Schwarzenegger film worth discussing to end any year of cult film podcasting. It is End of Days.
December 31st, 1999. The end of a century. The end of a millennium. The beginning of the end.